I did a little research. I looked into the special site logs you mentioned, Mr. Nick.
You did? That's great. I really appreciate it.
A red site logs protects a secret a person is consciously trying to hide. If the person falls into question, the lock breaks and the truth comes out.
Yep, that's exactly how I got the truth out of Detective Fulbright and Director Cosmos.
But a black site lock protects a secret from the deepest place in a person's heart. A secret the person isn't even consciously aware of.
So even they don't know it's there.
Athena isn't trying to keep anything from you on purpose. For some reason, part of her heart and her memories are sealed off even from herself.
Okay, all I have to do is break the site locks.
According to my research, a black site lock is like a heavy chain wrapped directly around one's heart. If they're ripped off by force, it could cause permanent damage to a person's soul.
In other words, if I'm not careful, I could traumatize Athena for good. Ugh. Pearls, can you stay by Athena's side? She must be suffering under the weight of such a heavy burden.
Alright. But will you be alright by yourself, Mr. Nick?
I'm up against Edgeworth. I have to be able to give this trial all my focus and strength.
And you can't do that if I'm there. I'll just hold you back.
No, that's not it. I just meant I could relax and concentrate if I knew you were with Athena. You're the only one who can do it, Pearls.
Alright, I'll do it then. Good luck, Mr. Nick.
Good. Now my mind is at ease, I better get ready. I'll just tidy up the evidence and take out what I don't need. Decided to put an end to this nightmare that started 7 years ago. Defense, prosecution and judge. There are even people in the gallery. The roof's been completely blown off and the walls have collapsed. But today, this ruin is my battleground. Oh my god, the fucking robot's on the stand. Court, or some facsimile thereof, is now in session for the trial of Athena Sykes.
Not a pharmacy, old man. It's a proper official trial. Take it more seriously or I'll start hearing the bones of the hostages snap.
Please try not to upset Miss Blackquill, I'm begging you. Court is now in session for the very serious and very proper trial of Athena Sykes. Oh, I've missed those animations. This is no trial. It's nothing more than a ridiculous farce.
What did you say?
Edgeworth, did you not hear what I just said to His Honour? However, this ridiculous farce has a very important meaning for our legal system. Recall the case of the UR-1 incident, in which case a prosecutor was found guilty of murder. That case ushered in the odious dark age of the law.
I see what you're after. If we can find the real truth behind that case today...
Precisely. The darkness will be dispelled and glory shall be restored to the court system. Prosecutor Edgeworth, you sound as if you know something of this truth. I do indeed. A new suspect has emerged in the UR-1 case. For 7 years, Simon Blackquill has refused to speak in order to cover for someone else. Brace yourself, Phoenix. Here it comes. I'm sorry, Wright, but the situation is what it is, and I must do what I must. The prosecution moves to indict Athena Sykes on the count of murder in the first degree.
Regardless the circumstance, I intend to question the defendant with all I have. For that is a part of my creed.
Then you'd better bring it.
If the two of you are ready. Court is now in session for the trial of Athena Sykes.
Your Honor, the defense was born ready.
Hell yeah.
The prosecution is also ready.
There's immense tension between us. It's like we're picking up right where we left off.
It's my duty to clear Prosecutor Blackquill of any false accusations and end this insanity.
But I've no intention of losing Miss Sykes either. She's a very promising young lawyer. I know without a doubt Athena is innocent. But I don't think Prosecutor Blackquill did it either. So... the true culprit is a spy. It's going to be hard to convince anyone of that when I barely believe it myself. But I don't have a choice if I want to save Athena and Blackquill and expose the spy.
Now then, Chief Prosecutor Edgeworth. No need for the Chief Prosecutor bit, Your Honor. I'm here as a simple prosecutor. Very well. Your opening statement, please, Prosecutor Edgeworth. Although I've been known of late to give an impressive opening statement myself. In all the trials I've ever seen, only the prosecution gives an opening statement. Of course, you're right. I was just joking, having a little fun.
So he wasn't doing them just out of fear. Interesting.
Let's start with a brief overview of the UR-1 incident. The incident occurred at the Cosmos Space Center 7 years ago on October the 7th. The victim, psychologist Meta Sykes, was killed in the robotics lab on the 4th floor.
Athena's mother.
Simon Blackquill, a young prosecutor at the time, was found guilty of the crime. There were two deciding factors that led to his guilty verdict. One, Blackquill was the only person in the corridor to the lab at the time of the murder. And two, this photo, which captured the moment of the crime. Very incriminating evidence indeed. It would appear the only conclusion is Prosecutor Blackquill did indeed.
Are you kidding me? I'm not accepting any conclusion of the kind. This opening statement is over. Now hurry up and call the witness.
Excuse me, Miss Blackquill, but we must follow proper procedure for these things, you know. Or perhaps we should heed her wishes, Your Honor. She's the trial's sponsor, after all. Besides, the courtroom's chilly, and sitting too long can't be good for your back. Oh, you're very kind to show such concern for the welfare of the elderly.
Skilled as ever as playing the court puppeteer, I see.
The prosecution calls its first witness, a witness who decided to bring forth new testimony after 7 long years.
New testimony? Whose two is this witness anyway? Yep.
Bobby Fulbright's the name. In justice we trust.
What are you doing here?
I'm just here to speak for the hostage taker, Miss Aura Blackquill. She says she's too busy with confining and threatening the hostages and all.
That doesn't seem to stop her from constantly charming him through Clonco. I'm nothing more than an observer than this. Do your best. I'm watching you.
Believing her brother is innocent, Miss Blackquill has been conducting her own investigation, and through her current actions are hardly lawful, I think we can at least hear her theory. I have here Miss Blackwill's notes on the investigation she conducted, and I'll be giving testimony based on these notes. Here I go. Simon isn't the murderer, he's trying to cover for someone. Someone else was at the scene at the time, and they say Simon committed the murder. I mean, if he really was out to steal the moon rock, why the rolling case? Because he was using it to hide someone inside, that's why. The only person small enough to fit inside that case was Athena Sykes. That's Miss Blackwill's theory. It totally goes in the face of the official ruling, huh? About the case she mentions, there were other rolling cases like that one in the lab. But they're not for travelling. They're apparently for moving parts and equipment. I vaguely remember seeing 3 cases in different sizes. At the last trial, they thought Prosecutor Blackquill used the case to steal the rock. And they had perfectly good reason to think that too. There's a security camera in the corridor that leads to the robotics lab. And that camera captured footage of Blackquill leaving the scene with the case. I can see why that footage helped bring this trial to a quick end. It's very convincing, that's for sure. That case, by the way, was later discovered outside on the Space Center grounds. Speaking of after the incident, where was the defendant Athena Sykes found? She was found on the 5th floor of the Space Center in the Sykes family residence. Prosecutor Blackquill most likely brought her there after the incident. In addition, it's unknown where Miss Sykes was at the estimated time of death. Miss Sykes was too confused by the shock of her mother's death to give proper testimony. And there are no witnesses or evidence to tell us where she might have been.
So what you're saying is Miss Sykes didn't have an alibi?
That's what the evidence is saying, yes. I understand the reasoning behind the theory, but I'm far from convinced. The victim is the accused mother. Are you actually claiming an 11-year-old girl? Of course, the girl had a very strong motive.
Dr. Sykes was a psychologist who wrote many papers about speech and emotions. You're aware of Athena Sykes' special ability, aren't you, Your Honor?
Are you referring to that therapy thing? Yeah, she's done it a few times in court. The ability to read emotions from speech and the subject of her mother's research.
Well, as long as it benefits society, I don't see any particular problem researching it. I don't like where this is heading, not one bit.
Dr. Sykes was so intent on her research, she forced her daughter to undergo experiments.
Prosecutor Edgeworth! Are you seriously suggesting?
I've done my best to be delicate, but even you can't deny it to be true, Mr. Wright. No longer able to withstand the anguish of the experiments, Miss Sykes felt her only choice was to kill her own mother.
Order! Order in the court! What a tragic story. I hardly want to believe it myself. But we must proceed. Mr. Wright, if you could, Detective Fulbright, please refer to the notes.
Hold it!
So Prosecutor Blackquill willingly accepted a death sentence to protect someone else?
Yes, that is precisely what Miss Blackquill appears to believe. And that is what I believe as well. Prosecutor Blackwell's no murderer, Mr. Wright. But Athena Sykes certainly didn't kill anyone either, Mr. Edgeworth. So it appears neither of us can afford to go easy on the other. Fine. I expected no less. Ooh, I remember this tense atmosphere. It's so invigorating. I'm only reading notes here, but yeah, I feel extra invigorated too. So let's keep going.
Hold it!
But that's just speculation.
No, Ms. Blackwell has proper grounds for her claims.
Objection!
Then why didn't you say so in the first place?
Objection!
You're the one who screamed, "Hold it," and cut me off.
Fine, maybe I jumped the gun by a teeny bit. Ha 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 ha!
Now I know what they mean when they say close enough to argue. Moving on.
Hold it!
This rolling case, I suppose you mean the one that existed in the photo with Prosecutor Blackwell in it. Or was absent when the crime scene photos were taken.
Yes, that's the one. And Miss Blackwell has drawn a conclusion from these two photos. She has? And what's that conclusion? You're the one with her notes. Oh, right, of course. Reading them now. So why the rolling case?
Hold it!
And how do you propose she hid a person inside one of those cases?
Have you forgotten what we saw just a thing the other day? At your own daughter's magic show? She fit a grown person in a small box.
Oh yeah, way to ruin the memory of a good day.
A magic show? I wish you thought to invite me. Actually, I would have liked to go too.
My apologies, I'll invite you both next time, promise. So, wait a minute, what are we talking about again?
Prosecutor Blackwell was using the case to hide someone.
Hold it!
That's nothing more than conjecture, and hardly the only possibility.
In that case, what do you think Prosecutor Blackwell had in that case?
I think it was the moon rock.
Objection!
There were 3 cases at the scene, but Prosecutor Blackwell used the largest one. The moon rock was egg-shaped and only about 8 inches in diameter. It wouldn't have made any sense to use the largest case just to move that rock.
Objection!
Be that as it may, it doesn't prove Miss Sykes was inside.
Let me ask you this. Can you come up with a better theory as to what was in the case? Well, Mr. Wright, can you?
Yikes. Give the guy some time to think. Let's see. Should I try to bluff my way through what could have been in that case? I know exactly what Prosecutor Blackwell carried in the scene. I just have to find someone else that was missing, right? No sweat.
I'd be very interested in hearing your theory, if it's true, that is. This is a crime scene photo taken after Prosecutor Blackwell left.
Whoops. This is a crime scene photo taken after Prosecutor Blackwell left, correct? All we have to do is compare this with the photo of Prosecutor Blackwell to see what's missing. If he took something with him, it should be in one of these photos. Lady Luck, don't fail me now.
All right then, Mr. Wright, let's hear your theory. What did Prosecutor Blackwell take from the scene of the murder?
Take that!
Please notice there's a robot part on top of the cart of this photo. However, in this photo taken after the crime, the robot part is gone. In other words, this part is something that was taken from the scene of the crime.
You do appear to be right. I don't see it in the second picture. But it's just a piece of junk. How important could it be?
Is it really just an insignificant robot part? Speaking of which, what are you looking at? I'm going to start charging for each glance per eyeball. Stingy, stingy. What happened to the age of free previews? Your Honour, about this robot part. Does it look like it could be an arm from the robot over there?
Well, now you mention it, it does, doesn't it? But the case is still too big to be practical for just a moon rock and a robot arm.
Was it really just the one arm that was in there? If it wasn't Athena in the case, then maybe... I believe there was another robot at the scene that looks just like that one there. Your Honour, it's the defence's assertion that this was the other robot, that it was... this... It is the defence's assertion that it is the other... Come on. It is the defence's assertion that it was this other robot that was in the case.
What?
Objection!
We can't be certain that part belonged to a robot.
Really, Edgeworth?
Yes, it looks like the arm of the one before us, but it could be something else entirely. Besides, it's wrapped entirely in bandaging, making it difficult to verify what it is.
Objection!
If anything, it makes it very easy. I know for a fact it's a robot arm. I can even tell you which robot it belonged to just by looking at it. With this information, we can investigate whether it was there at the time or not.
Mr. Wright, I thought you were more of a technologically illiterate type. When did you become such an expert? I feel somehow abandoned.
Not to worry, Your Honour, I still know next to nothing about machines. But I know this piece of evidence proves which robot the arm belonged to.
Take that!
The robot in this picture is named Poncho. But take a look at Poncho's arm. It was Miss Sykes who bandaged it up like that.
She must have thought machines heal the same way people do. It was an adorable, naive mistake. Reminds me of my own grandchild.
The robot arm at the crime scene had the same bandaging wrapped around it. In other words, this robot arm could belong to none other than Poncho.
Order in the court! Order, I say! Prosecutor Edgeworth, what have you to say to this? I concede the robot is about the same size as a child, but it cannot grab its knees and curl itself into a ball. Even if it was the largest of the cases, the robot couldn't possibly fit in there. The case does come up to about mid-fire on Prosecutor. The case does come up about mid-fire on Prosecutor Blackwell. I see your point. The robot's much taller than that.
They've got me there. So then, did Prosecutor Blackwell make dismantling? Of course Poncho would fit. All Professor Black... I said Professor again. All Prosecutor Blackwell would have to do is dismantle her. Once taken apart, the robot could have easily fit inside the rolling case.
Sounds rather violent, but Mr. Wright has a point there.
Objection!
Except there was a body on the table where robots were being dismantled and assembled. There would have been no room to take the robot apart.
Objection!
But what if it wasn't done on the table? What if the katana was used instead?
You mean the sword?
Yes, Your Honour. Miss Blackquill, I'd like your opinion as a woman of science. Isn't it true that that katana could have been used to take the robot apart? I suppose so. The joints aren't made of very tough material. A blade could slice through them. Thank you for your expert opinion, Miss Blackquill. Thanks to you, now we know. The existence of the severed arm in the photo proves Poncho was taken apart. In addition, since the rest of Poncho was not found at the scene, we can conclude that the true meaning of this photo is very different from the original interpretation.
You can't mean...
That's exactly what I mean. The photo does not capture the moment of the murder. It instead depicts the moment of after the robot was sliced apart. The blood you see where the arm was cut off was transferred there by the bloody katana. Most likely, the rest of Poncho is scattered around Prosecutor Blackwill's feet. Not hearing this. Therefore, what was transported inside the case was not the defendant, but a robot. Miss Sykes never was at the scene at the time of the murder. Me head, me body, where am I?
Order! Order in the court!
It's true Poncho was found in pieces after the murder. I'll admit I repaired it myself afterwards. Yes, I'm finally making progress. Hopefully I've gotten at least one step closer to proving both Athena and Blackquill innocent.
Objection!
Well played, Mr. Wright. You made your point abundantly clear. I concede it wasn't the defendant inside the rolling case, but the robot.
Alright, what's going on here? It's never good when he plays things this straight.
Does the prosecution withdraw its claim the defendant was carried from the scene?
No, Your Honour, my claim hasn't changed.
Objection!
But Poncho and Miss Sykes couldn't both have been inside the case.
Objection!
The notion that the case was used to carry Miss Sykes was Miss Blackwill's theory. I've been on a different opinion from the outset. Now I finally have the opportunity to voice my theory. Thanks to the defence. Edgeworth, you've been one step ahead of me this whole time. In that case, how do you propose the defendant left the crime scene? Simple. The footage only shows Prosecutor Blackquill from behind. What's more, he's holding his arm in front of his body, as if he were holding something or someone. That's hardly evidence. I have proof. The surcoat Prosecutor Blackquill was wearing. The victim's blood was found on the front of it, and the stain had a highly distinctive shape. A blood stain with a distinctive shape? Please continue, Prosecutor Edgeworth. 7 years ago, the defendant was known to constantly wear a certain item, of which there is only one in the world. A special pair of headphones made just for her.
Analysis showed the blood stain to be in the exact same shape as these headphones. In other words, it was no mere blood splatter. The blood went from the victim's body to the headphones and then was imprinted onto Prosecutor Blackwell's coat like a stamp. A most gruesome stamp indeed. Blackwell carried Miss Sykes, who'd been hit by a splatter, away from the crime scene. This proves Athena Sykes was, without question, present at the crime scene. And that concludes the prosecution's argument. Order! If the defendant was indeed at the scene, it deepens the suspicion against her. But we've also shown the robot was at the scene as well. I hope you're not making the ridiculous claim that a simple robot was the real murderer. I don't really think that, no, but you can't say the possibility isn't there. Detective Fulbright, was the robot questioned at the time? No, I don't see any record of it. I believe it was considered unrelated to the case. But as it turned out, the robot was actually integrally related. Your Honor, the defense would like to call Poncho to the stand. A robot witness? Order! Order in the court! Prosecutor Edgeworth, what do you think of this? Mr. Wright has called all manner of witnesses to the stand over the years. Why not a robot? Nothing surprises me anymore with him. Very well. I will allow the witness. Bailiff, please summon the robot named Poncho. Witness, please state your name and occupation.
My name is not Witness, my name is Poncho.
Yes, I realise that, but when you're at the witness stand, you are the witness.
No, I'm not. I am Poncho. Say it with me. Poncho.
What an utterly inflexible little robot. You're the last person who should be calling anybody inflexible. You remind me of my grandchild who just earned his own name. How precious. All right, Poncho. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Questions? You have questions? Hooray! What are your questions?
I want to know if you were at the scene of the murder of Metis Sykes. It was 7 years ago on the 7th of October around 2 p.m. in the robotics lab.
Certainly. Just one moment. Searching data. Search complete. Yes, I was there in the robotics lab.
It would seem this robot's testimony is necessary to the case after all. This is great. I knew Poncho must have seen something important. The murder committed right before this poor little girl's eyes is inexcusable. The judge seems ready to adopt Poncho as another grandchild. So, little Poncho, do you think you can give us your testimony today?
I went to the robotics lab at about 2 p.m. for my regular recharge. Just as I was about to charge up, Athena came in and hugged Mummy Metis. And then Mummy Metis fell down. After that I was recharging, so I don't know anything. After I charged up, I was cleaning the room and Mr. Simon came in. And then an error occurred. There is no data after that point.
It sounds like the defendant was without question at the scene. It doesn't appear the witness saw the actual moment of the murder. I disagree. This testimony shows the defendant did indeed commit the crime. What? At the end of the day, we mustn't forget that this witness is still a machine. Being a robot, its understanding and capacity to express itself are limited. So what are you suggesting? The witness's statements need to be interpreted. For example, the terms hugged and then later fell down. Adults don't usually fall down after being hugged by a child. They don't, but... Yes, what this witness statements are telling us is... The defendant stabbed the victim with the murder weapon during this moment. What? Before Ms. Sykes hugged Dr. Sykes, did the two of them converse?
Yes, they did. They spoke to each other very loudly, but I don't know what they said. Athena is usually so quiet, so I was surprised.
Spoke very loudly. We can interpret this to mean they argued. I see, murder after a heated argument and the victim fell down. I agree, it does sound like a reasonable interpretation. However, Poncho doesn't seem to remember anything that happened after that.
When I am recharging, I go into sleep mode. But I remember everything before that. I have a very good memory.
You may as well admit defeat now, right? A cross-examination would be useless.
Don't be ridiculous. A cross-examination is never useless.
Until now. Think about it. Robots don't lie. This robot is both an important witness and valuable evidence at the same time.
Nevertheless, I will have my cross-examination.
I see you haven't changed. You never were one to worry about wasting time. Very well. Even if it may be a waste of time, you may proceed, Mr. Wright.
I'll show you both just how fruitful any cross-examination can be.
Hold it!
Your regular recharge? What is that exactly? I have to refill my battery's power or else I stop working. I go to the lab to do that.
So that recharge occurred around 2 p.m. around the time of the murder?
That's right. I go every day at 2 p.m.
Hold it!
Hugged her, huh? Which Edgeworth took to mean stab her with a weapon. You said the two of them were talking before Miss Sykes hugged her mother, is that right? Yes, they were talking very loudly, but I could not tell what they were saying. Couldn't tell, even though they were speaking so loudly? I'm only allowed to listen to voices that are directed at me.
If you'd listened to a living voice, it'd be a little better than a mobile eavesdropper.
That explains why some of Poncho's testimony is so vague.
It's a shame my little friend wasn't listening in, however. We could have learned what they were talking about just before Dr. Sykes was killed. Now then, what happened after that?
Hold it!
I don't want to delve too deeply here, but... Can you tell us how the victim appeared and acted in this moment? Mummy Metis was very surprised when she was hugged. I heard her heart pound. Her heart?
Mr. Wright, have you forgot about the document we found in the robotics lab? The robots have heartbeat detection systems.
Now he mentions it, I do remember reading something like that there. To the presence of people by the sound of heartbeats. Wait a minute. That means if Dr. Sykes really did die at this moment. Poncho, how was Dr. Sykes after she fell down? Could you still hear the sound of her heartbeat? Let's see. The moment she fell, her heart was pounding. After that, I don't know. I started recharging then. Of all the unlucky timing, if you heard anything after that, it could have possibly proved the hug wasn't the moment of the murder. I'm very sorry. I'm afraid I don't know. I'm very sorry.
The robot's designed to go into sleep mode automatically. It can't be helped. It does appear it detected an increased heart rate at the moment of the stabbing.
After Mummy Meter's heart started pounding in surprise, she fell by the window. It was the round window on the workbench side of the room. The workbench, huh? Poncho must be talking about the table right where the giant robot is now. Is there something critical in Poncho's statement just now? Yes, I think there is. Let's look at those photos again. See, if she fell down there, how'd she end up on the table? Your Honour, I believe this statement's critical. I'd like it added to her testimony. Very well. Poncho, can you please add that statement to your testimony? It's a good little girl. Mummy Metis fell down near the round window on the workbench side of the room.
Objection!
Poncho, your statement may have just inspired a breakthrough. I was helpful. Hooray! I'm so happy. Just to be sure, let's go over it again, okay? The victim fell near the window on the workbench side of the room. However, her body was discovered on the operating table. But the operating table and the workbench are two different locations. Exactly, Your Honour. We've just learned a new crucial fact. What can explain the two very different locations of the body? I'll tell you what. An 11-year-old girl couldn't have moved the heavy body of an adult. The only explanation is the victim walked to the operating table herself. In other words, what Poncho observed near the workbench couldn't possibly have been the moment of the murder. Whew. I'm very relieved to hear that. Glad to know that murder wasn't committed in front of little Poncho here. Yes, just as we heard in the testimony, Miss Sykes hugged her mother, nothing more. Right. Yes, I am right, thank you.
It's been 8 years, but you're still just as green as ever.
Green? But I can't recall ever seeing Mr. Wright in anything but a blue suit. Blue's my favourite colour, what can I say?
If the defendant couldn't move the body herself, she could have had it moved for her.
Moved for her? But Miss Sykes and Dr. Sykes were the only ones there.
I agree. Since the robot is equipped with a heartbeat detection system, it would have been aware of another person's presence if someone else had been there. We can therefore conclude the defendant and the victim are the only ones present. Who do you suggest move the body? Don't you know it's in the nature of a robot to help people do things? Miss Panko, allow me to ask you a question.
My name is Poncho. Say it with me. Poncho.
I believe you said you were cleaning after Mr. Sykes fell down. Did you happen to move something large onto the operating table?
Yes, I did. Athena asked me to.
Athena asked you to. And why did you move, little Poncho?
I don't know. Unless something has an ID tag, I can't tell what it is.
An ID tag, you say?
Yes, a tag with a barcode on it. We robots scan them to tell us what a thing is.
The paper in the lab mentioned something about that. Recognises people by scanning the spacesuit or uniform jacket ID tag, it said. So it would appear that Miss Panko here can't identify what was moved.
My name is Poncho.
But we humans have the power to imagine what it was, do we not? We do? Well, I do at the very least. Ms. Panko, on the defendant's command, you move the body to the operating table. Panko, did you really move Dr. Sykes' body? This is really important. Isn't there any way you could tell?
I don't know. Without an ID tag, I can't tell.
Give it up, right? If the victim's heart was stopped, the robot's detection system would be useless. Furthermore, Dr. Sykes usually wore her white coat while she was working. She kept the jacket with her ID tag on it draped over a chair in the robotics lab. And only wore it for special occasions. In other words, the victim wasn't wearing her ID tag at the time. From the robot's point of view, her body was simply another object. The Poncho is equipped with facial recognition systems. If she really did move the victim, she would have recognized the body as Dr. Sykes. But she didn't, so that means... A face can easily be covered with a piece of cloth, a mask, or anything for that matter. With her facial features obstructed, the robot wouldn't be able to tell it was Dr. Sykes. Ugh, he's right. To summarize, Miss Sykes stabbed her mother near the workbench and, using the robot, moved the body to the table where she removed the sword it was stained with blood. Order! If that's the case, I have a question. Why did the defendant move the body to the operating table in the first place? You want a reason? Very well. What? We can't possibly have an explanation. Your emotions blind you to the truth. You could learn a lot from our robot friends. Calm and rational thought will open your eyes to the truth in front of you, Mr. Wright. Now then, do you remember the operating table's one special feature? I believe I read the robots can be assembled and disassembled there, isn't that right? That's right. And to the defendant, who was just a child at the time, the table was like a magic box that could make robots appear or disappear in seconds. You can't possibly be suggesting. This young, sheltered girl had a difficult time distinguishing robots from people. No way. I refuse to believe it. Miss Sykes made a childish, naive, and cruel mistake. She thought if a robot could be dismantled and vanish without a trace... Prosecutor Edgeworth! If you're about to claim what I think you are, I demand you word it as delicately as you can. With all due respect, Your Honor, all I can do is present the truth as it stands. The reason the defendant moved the victim's body to the operating table...
Hold it!
No, don't say another word. Just stop.
was to dismantle the evidence so she could get away with her crime.
That can't be. That can't be true.
Order! Order in the court! Order, I say!
Edgeworth, she was just a little kid. How can you say such a horrible thing?
Horrible? Like I said, you're just as green as ever. I came here today as a prosecutor to seek only the truth. No more, no less. My theory is simply the result of a rational consideration of every possibility.
Objection!
But dismantling isn't the table's only function. It makes repairs as well. It's conceivable Miss Sykes moved her mother to the table to fix her.
I suppose there could be another way of interpreting it. But dismantle or repair, it doesn't matter either way.
What do you mean?
After murdering her mother, Miss Sykes may have come to her senses. Perhaps she did want to make it appear as if it never happened. And that's why she tried to repair her mother. Yes, that's one possible explanation.
But...
But we mustn't forget the facts of this case. The victim was observed to fall down after being hugged by the defendant. And the body was moved per the defendant's command. These two facts that indicate the defendant's guilt, remain unchanged.
This can't be true.
Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence to refute the prosecution's claim?
Evidence? Right. Let's see.
I can't think of any.
I'm afraid I don't have any evidence.
Since becoming chief prosecutor, I've learned the truth isn't always pretty. Now accept the truth, Mr. Wright. Your subordinate murdered her own mother. Your Honor, the prosecution demands a verdict. The hostages have suffered enough. What a terrible and tragic conclusion. If the defense has no counter-argument, I see no need to further prolong this trial.
Edgeworth's argument seems solid enough, but there's no way Athena could have ever done anything like that. What do I do? There has to be something, but I can't think of a single thing.
Prosecutor Blackquill?
This is quite the farce you're conducting here. I could die from laughter.
Prosecutor Blackquill, what are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is your argument is based entirely on a false premise. Go on, we're listening. This will be the miracle I need. But what is Prosecutor Blackquill trying to pull here? 7 years. For 7 long years, this case has been on my mind. Not for an instant did I not think of it. I'm the one who killed my mentor, and don't think you can alter that fact now. Your boldness, I will take the stand, and you won't take no for an answer.
Of course, Prosecutor Blackquill, please, go ahead.